Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are digging into the incredible backstory of one of history's most famous figures, Daniel. But here's the thing. To really understand the man, you first have to understand the world that was literally falling to pieces all around him.
So, let's just start with a huge question. How does a nation, a kingdom that believes it's chosen by God, just disappear? It's a shocking thought, right? But it never, ever happens overnight.
You see, the story of Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, it doesn't kick off in the glittering palaces of Babylon. No, it starts way before that, in the political wreckage and spiritual ashes of their homeland, the Kingdom of Judah.
Okay, so to get the full picture, we gotta zoom out. Think of the 7th century BC as this high-stakes game of imperial chess, with massive empires moving their pieces across the board.
For what felt like forever, the Assyrian Empire was the big bad wolf on the block, the undisputed superpower everyone was terrified of. But now, they're crumbling, they're weak, and that creates this huge power vacuum. And into that void, two hungry giants are stepping up. You've got the rising new power of Babylon and the ancient legendary power of Egypt, both ready to go to war to be number one. And can you see where Judah is on this map? They are stuck literally right in the middle. Imagine being a tiny little country caught between two brawling titans. You have to pick a side in a fight you have absolutely no hope of winning. And you just know one wrong move, one bad alliance could mean total annihilation. But, right in the middle of all this impending doom and geopolitical chaos, something amazing happens. A real glimmer of hope. And it comes from the most unlikely place you could imagine.
Meet Josiah. He's crowned king when he's just a kid, only 8 years old. But when he grows up, he unleashes this incredible spiritual and political revolution. He starts a holy war inside his own country, marching from town to town, smashing foreign idols and tearing down illegal shrines. He even rediscovers the nation's founding document, the Book of the Law, and unites the entire kingdom in a massive Passover celebration, something nobody had seen for generations. It was a golden age.
And what was so radical about his reforms was how thorough they were. I mean, he didn't just smash the obviously pagan idols. He also went after the places where people were worshiping the right God, but in the wrong way. This back-to-the-book purity was so powerful that centuries later, the leaders of the Protestant Reformation looked back at Josiah as an absolute hero. But that moment of hope? It was so fragile. And tragically, it was all about to come crashing down. A single, foolish mistake is about to trigger an unbelievably fast and brutal collapse of the entire kingdom. It's a fatal miscalculation. That's the only way to put it. For some reason, Josiah decides to march his army out to block the path of the Egyptian pharaoh. The pharaoh literally tells him, "Hey, my fight isn't with you, stay out of it." But Josiah doesn't listen. He goes into battle and he's killed. And just like that, the last good king Judah would ever have is gone. The nation is thrown into a tailspin. And chaos is exactly what you get. The throne becomes this pathetic revolving door for his weak, corrupt sons. First, one son lasts a whopping 3 months before Egypt just yanks him off the throne and puts his brother there instead, a brother who's nothing more than an Egyptian puppet. It is a complete and utter disaster.
So let's just pause on this, because this is the whole point. The contrast is staggering. In one generation, you have Josiah, who pulled the nation back from the brink with justice and faithfulness. And in the very next generation, his own sons undid everything. They brought back all the oppression, all the corruption, and all the idolatry their father had worked so hard to destroy.
At this point, the writing is on the wall. The nation is just a puppet state. Its leaders are morally bankrupt, and its fate, well, it's sealed. The end isn't just a possibility anymore, it's an inevitability.
And the final fall doesn't even happen all at once. It's more like a slow, painful 3-act tragedy. First, in 605 BC, Babylon crushes Egypt and Judah becomes a Babylonian territory. That's the year Nebuchadnezzar hauls off the first group of exiles, the best and the brightest, including a young teenager named Daniel. Then, after years of rebellion, Nebuchadnezzar has enough. In 586 BC,
He comes back, and this time, he burns the city of Jerusalem and its holy temple to the ground. And here's the crazy part. None of this should have been a surprise. For decades, the prophet Jeremiah had been screaming a number at the kings, 70. He prophesied that they would serve Babylon for 70 years. He begged them to just submit to God's judgment, but they wouldn't listen. So this wasn't an accident. It was a prophecy coming true, down to the very year.
And this is why all that history matters. Because people like Daniel, Ezekiel, and Jeremiah, they weren't just religious figures giving sermons. They were survivors. They were men whose entire lives were shaped by the deep trauma of watching their country, their culture, their religion, everything be systematically destroyed. Their life's work was trying to find meaning in the middle of that catastrophe.
Which leaves us with the one central question that's going to drive the rest of their story. The question that sets the stage for everything that happens to Daniel in Babylon. When everything you have ever known and loved is gone, when your nation is just a pile of ashes and you are a prisoner in the heart of the enemy empire, how on earth can faith even begin to survive?